It's just work. He said it so many times, it started to sound normal, routine, expected, like there was nothing unusual about it. And at first, there wasn't. Long hours happen, deadlines, meetings, pressure. That's what I told myself. That's what I believed. Because when someone says work, you don't question it. You respect it. You adjust. You understand. At least, that's what I did. I remember when it first started. He came home a little late, nothing unusual, just an hour, maybe 2. He looked tired, slightly distracted, but still present, still there. Busy day? I asked. He nodded. Yeah, work's been crazy. I smiled slightly. Hope it slows down. It will, he said. Simple, reassuring, and that was enough, at that time. Days passed, then weeks, and those late nights, they didn't stop. If anything, they became more consistent, more predictable, almost scheduled. That's when I started noticing it. Not the lateness, but the pattern. Because patterns, they don't happen randomly. They repeat. Exactly. Every night, around the same time, his phone would go quiet. No calls, no replies, nothing. At first I didn't think much of it. People get busy, meetings happen, phones get put away. Normal. But then it kept happening. Every night, after 9 p.m, like a switch. Before 9, he would respond, quickly, normally, casually. After 9, nothing. Complete silence. And that silence, it stayed with me. Not loudly, not urgently, just there. One night I called him, around 9:30. No answer. I waited. Called again. Still nothing. I told myself, he's busy. He'll call back. He always does. But that night, he didn't. The next morning he acted normal, like nothing had happened. Sorry, I was caught up with work, he said. I nodded. Late meeting? Yeah, he replied. Simple, direct, no hesitation. And again, I believed him, because there was no reason not to. But something inside me, it didn't fully settle, because it wasn't just one night, it was every night. After 9 p.m, he disappeared. Not physically, but completely. No calls, no messages, no presence. And slowly, that pattern started to feel less like work and more like something else. Something consistent. Something intentional. One evening, I decided to test it. Not dramatically, not suspiciously, just quietly. I called him at 8:45. He answered, immediately. Hey, he said. Normal, relaxed. Hey, I replied. Just checking in. Yeah, I'm still at work, he said. Busy? A little. Okay, talk later? Yeah. Call ended. Simple. Then I waited, watched the clock. 9 o'clock, 9:05, 9:10. And then I called again. No answer. I waited a minute, called again. Nothing. That was the moment. Not because he didn't pick up, but because it confirmed something. A pattern, a line, a boundary. Not of time, of availability. Because before 9, he was there. After 9, he wasn't. And that difference, it mattered more than anything. Because work doesn't follow silence like that. Work doesn't disappear every single night at the same exact time. That's not random. That's not pressure. That's routine. And routines? They have reasons. I didn't confront him. I didn't ask questions, because I already knew what he would say. It's just work. And I didn't feel like hearing that again. So I stayed quiet. But I paid attention, more than before. And once you start paying attention, you start seeing more than you expected.
After that night, I stopped calling. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't need to anymore. I already knew what would happen. Before 9, he would answer. After 9, silence. And once you understand a pattern, you don't keep testing it. You just watch it. Quietly, clearly. Days passed. Then more nights. And nothing changed. If anything, it became easier to see. Because when you stop interrupting something, it reveals itself. Completely. He still came home late. Still said the same things. Work's been busy. Long meetings. Deadlines. Same tone. Same calm delivery. Like everything made sense. Like nothing needed to be questioned. But now, I wasn't listening to the words. I was watching the gaps, the space between them, the parts that didn't match. One evening, I noticed something small, but it stayed. He was sitting beside me, scrolling through his phone, relaxed, present. Then suddenly, his attention shifted. Completely. A message. I didn't see it, but I saw him. The way his expression changed. Subtle, but real. Then he stood up, without saying much. "I need to step out for a bit," he said. I looked at him. "What happened?" "Just work," he replied. Of course. That word again. Simple. Convenient. Safe. I nodded. Okay. And that was it. No questions, no reaction. Because I already knew where this was going. He left. And I didn't follow. Didn't call. Didn't check. Because I didn't need to. I just looked at the time. 8:52 p.m. and waited. 9 o'clock. 9:10. 9:30. Silence. Exactly the same, like every other night. And that's when something shifted. Not around me, inside me. Because it wasn't confusion anymore. It wasn't doubt. It was clarity. The kind that settles in quietly, without noise, without drama. Just certainty. The next morning, everything looked the same. He walked in like usual, calm, normal, like nothing had happened. "Morning," he said. "Morning," I replied, my voice steady, neutral. He poured himself coffee, checked his phone, same routine, same rhythm. But something was different, because I wasn't part of it anymore. Not really. Not in the way I used to be. "How was last night?" I asked casually. He didn't hesitate. "Busy," he said. "Work stuff." I nodded slowly. "Late meeting again?" "Yeah." Simple, direct, unchanged. And that's when I realized something. It wasn't just that he said the same thing. It was how easily he said it, without pause, without thought. Like it didn't matter anymore. Like the explanation was enough, even if it wasn't true.
I looked at him for a moment, not searching, not questioning, just seeing. And for the first time, I didn't feel the need to understand him, because I already did, completely. Looking back, I realised something. It wasn't just about the calls. It wasn't just about 9 p.m. It was about what that time represented. A boundary, a shift, a moment where I no longer existed in his world. Because work doesn't erase someone like that. Work doesn't create silence that consistent, that complete, that controlled. That's not work. That's a choice. And once you see it that way, everything becomes clear. That evening, I didn't wait. I didn't watch the clock. I didn't check my phone. Because I wasn't expecting anything anymore. He sat beside me again. Same place, same distance. But it didn't feel the same. Not even close. "You're quiet," he said. I looked at him, calm. "I'm just listening," I replied. "To what?" I paused for a second, then answered honestly. "To what's not being said." He frowned slightly, confused, because that's not something you can respond to easily. Not with words, not with excuses, just silence. And that silence, it said everything. I stood up slowly, not in anger, not in frustration, just with clarity. He watched me. "Where are you going?" he asked. I paused for a moment, then said, "I don't think it's work anymore." That landed. I could see it, not fully, not deeply, but enough. Because sometimes, truth doesn't need explanation. It just needs to be said. "It is work," he replied quickly. But his voice, it wasn't the same. Not as steady, not as certain. I nodded slightly. "Maybe," I said. And that was it. No argument, no pressure, no need to prove anything. Because I wasn't trying to convince him. I was just acknowledging what I already knew. I picked up my bag, held it lightly, not tightly, just ready. "You're overthinking," he added. That line, familiar, expected. But this time, it didn't reach me. Because this time, I wasn't thinking. I was seeing. And there's a difference. "I stopped thinking," I said quietly. I just started noticing. Silence. Complete. Because there was nothing left to argue with. Nothing left to deny. Because truth, when it's clear enough, doesn't need discussion. It just exists.